The implementation of the Cambridge Lower Secondary English Curriculum, Teachers' Voices at one private school in Palembang. Introduction. English has become a subject that is taught to the students at school. There are various reasons for learning a foreign language, which are for study purposes, adapting to the new culture of the country in which someone lives, for international communication with people from different countries, and for international communication with people from within their country. The learning process consists of supporting materials and strategy during the learning process take place. Concerning English as a subject, it is related to the curriculum used. Over time, a curriculum is always changed or updated. There are national and international curricula that have their own purpose and competencies that want to be achieved in education. There are competencies by using an international curriculum to face globalization. They are related to communication skills, the ability to think clearly and critically, the ability to consider moral issues as a problem, the ability to be a good citizen responsibility, the ability to try to understand and be tolerant of different points of view, and the ability to live in globalized society. The relation between English subject and the curriculum here is for teaching English subject by using Cambridge Lower English Secondary. Cambridge Lower Secondary is one of the Cambridge pathways for level in Cambridge education. By using Cambridge Lower Secondary English, students improve their comprehension and use of language elements, as well as their ability to use language effectively in a variety of oral and written contexts. Several kinds of research on the implementation of Cambridge curriculum have been conducted. One of the studies was conducted by PBI-B 2018, which entitled The Practice of English Language Teaching Using Cambridge Primary Curriculum in Sekolah Dasar Kristen Kalam Kudus, Surakarta. The findings revealed the difference with this study was that teaching and learning approaches followed the principle of metacognition and active learning, in which a student-centered classroom was emphasized. While the teacher autonomous to design the teaching approach, also the study did not conduct the stages of implementing a curriculum. Literature review. Teacher's perception, the nature of curriculum, the importance of curriculum. The teacher's perceptions are important to this study. Perception is an emotional or intellectual reaction to or regarding something or someone. Consciously or unconsciously, we judge persons, things, or events throughout our life. In curriculum, there are so many things that must be considered in order to be the direction and purpose of the curriculum itself. The components consist of objectives or aims, teaching method, the activity in the learning process, and assessment for students. Impact on administrators, teachers, and students. A curriculum allows administrators to provide a dynamic educational program for current and prospective students. Schools, colleges, and universities attract students with a variety of quality, competitive, and flexible program curricula. A curriculum offers teachers, provides ideas and strategies for teachers to use in assessing students' progress. Without the guidance of a curriculum, the teachers cannot be assured that they have supplied the necessary knowledge or the opportunity for the students at the next level, whether that level involves a high school, college, or career. Without such knowledge, students will be lost in a maze of academic courses that appear to lead nowhere if they do not have such knowledge. They would have no assurance that they are taking the proper subject toward a diploma or a degree. Apart from the above, a curriculum is also important for students' environment and the purpose of it. Tedesco, Operati, and Amadio 2014 found that curriculum ideas would need to define what is meant by excellent education for all. What are the conditions and processes required to ensure that justice, equity, and inclusion are the main organizing principles of curriculum development? The Cambridge curriculum in lower secondary school. Cambridge lower secondary means that the Cambridge curriculum is for students who are still in 12 to 15 years. For English subject, his subject fosters a lifetime love of reading, writing, and speaking. It gives students transferable language abilities for analyzing and generating spoken and written materials, as well as collaborative work. The implementation of Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum. There are stages in implementing Cambridge lower English curriculum. The first is program development. The curriculum, on the other hand, can be chosen then developed by school stakeholders. It means that the school can develop the program in the curriculum. Program development consists of annual years, which consist of the materials, learning time, and activity that will be taught to the students. This part is included in a syllabus and it arranges into a lesson plan. The second is the implementation of learning. Implementation of learning means the running of curriculum itself during the learning process. The materials of learning are the important one which is taught to the students in order to achieve the goals of curriculum itself. Third, after having a learning process, it has an evaluation. In this stage can be seen how the measure students and how the progress of using a curriculum. To evaluate the implementation in English subject, a teacher can measure students' potential for the end as the result of students' learning process by assessment. Moreover, the kind of assessment in the Cambridge curriculum is a little bit different from the curriculum in Indonesia. The teacher's attributes in Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum. There are competencies that should behave for teachers and students in using the Cambridge curriculum. According to Sullivan 2019, the Cambridge learner and teacher's attributes are designed to help students establish 5 powerful and highly desired learning habits that will encourage them to enjoy studying and help them lead fulfilling and successful lives. There are 5 teacher's attributes. They are confident, responsible, reflective, innovative, and engaged. Previous related study. In this point, some previous studies are described. The first study was conducted by Kusumawati in 2019, entitled Implementasi Kurikulum Cambridge dalam Pembelajaran Bahasa Inggris, which has similarity that focus on describing implementation learning English at Sekolah Dasar Kristen Kalam Kudus Surakarta. The study has resulted that the implementation of Cambridge curriculum is carried out through planning, implementing, and evaluating learning activities by teachers' competence. Second, the previous related study, a study was conducted by Fitria, Suyona, and Rahman M. in 2021 on the implementation of the Cambridge curriculum at SD Islam Creative Mutiara Anak Soleh has similar stages implemented to our study. It can be concluded that the implementation of the curriculum was divided into 3 stages, namely planning, implementation, and evaluation. The result of the planning stage could be seen in the preparation of the framework or syllabus and lesson plans or RPP. Then, the implementation stage can be seen from the learning facilities and resources that support learning activities, such as learning media, such as textbooks, and carrying out active learning in the learning activities. Methodology: research design, sites, and respondents. Qualitative research with a case study approach was selected in order to know such a phenomenon dealing with the teacher's perceptions towards the implementation of Cambridge Lower Secondary English curriculum at one private school in Palembang. A case study means that we can explore and understand an issue or problem by using a case. In this study, we choose the teachers to be the participants because we would like to know how the teacher ran the curriculum for the students throughout the learning process. We use purposeful sampling techniques for choosing the participants of this study. Total sampling was selected from several types of purposeful sampling. There were 2 teachers who taught in SIS secondary. Therefore, we choose all of the teachers who taught English for lower secondary to be our participants. Data collection and analysis. In collecting the data, we use interviews and for obtaining information from the teachers of English that aim to know their perceptions about the implementation of Cambridge Lower Secondary curriculum at Singapore Indonesian School, Palembang. To gain the data in this research, we use interviews with an appointment. For the data analysis, we use thematic analysis in this study. In analyzing the teacher's perception of the implementation of Cambridge Lower Secondary English, the researcher followed some steps. First, we prepared information about the interview, transcribed it, and then took notes of interview materials. Second, the researcher read all the data carefully so that the researcher could find a general meaning. Third, the researcher analyzed the data and labeled the categories. In other words, it was called coding. Fourth, we generated the description of coding through coding, and then it was categorized into themes. Next, we represented themes in the qualitative narrative. In other words, the researcher described the information that had been analyzed. It was related to the research questions. Finally, we interpreted teachers' perception about the Cambridge Lower Secondary English curriculum. Findings: the interviews was conducted to find out the teacher's perception on the implementation of Cambridge Lower Secondary English curriculum. After gaining the data from the interview, the data was analyzed by using thematic analysis. The description of the results are presented as follows. 1. The implementation of Cambridge Secondary in learning English. Program developments. Based on the data obtained from the interview in the stages of implementing Cambridge Lower Secondary curriculum, program development was the first stage. In developing the program, the teachers said that there were 6 points in this stage. We adapted the teaching plan from Cambridge English Lower Secondary curriculum to the school needs. The teachers followed and adjusted the scheme of work or so. English as a wide line in the English instruction. The teachers adopt Cambridge English Lower Secondary curriculum materials for English instruction. The teachers create a unit plan for the English instruction. The teachers use a variety of material resources for teaching the Cambridge English Lower Secondary curriculum, and the teachers prepare students to follow Cambridge Lower Secondary English checkpoint. The teachers adapt the teaching plan from Cambridge Lower Secondary School. secondary curriculum to the school's needs. The teachers followed and adjust the scheme of work. Learning implementation. Based on the interview data, the second stage in implementing Cambridge secondary English curriculum was implementation of learning. There were 6 points in the implementation of the curriculum. They were: the Cambridge English lower secondary places move more focus on students' writing skills. Teachers engage students during learning process by having them reflect on their daily lives in relation to this English instruction. The teachers reflect themselves on the teacher's attributes such as confidence in teaching the Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum. The materials provide an opportunity for students to the students' attributes such as confidence and reflective by using Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum. The students and the teacher use English as media of instruction at school. The Cambridge lower secondary English materials are suitable for the students. Evaluation. The teachers follow the entire assessment tool from Cambridge. The level of Cambridge's questions is higher thinking order than Indonesian for English assessment. The result of the students' performance in Cambridge lower secondary English checkpoint in accordance with Cambridge aim. The form of Cambridge lower secondary with secondary English checkpoint are easy: tick a box and writing. Discussion. After analyzing the result of the research by using thematic analysis, we found that there were some stages in implementing Cambridge secondary English curriculum. Those are: 1. Program development, 2. Learning implementation, and 3. Evaluation. The first was program development. In developing the program, the teacher should do need analysis, because from the teacher's perception revealed that the adjustment of the students and schools' needs are important. It means every school and students have a different need. The second, in implementation of learning, that during the learning English process, students could learn well without any difficulties in acquiring the materials. It was because the teachers had a good way of teaching the students. Teachers' ways and motivation influenced the learning process. Conclusion and recommendation or implication. Based on the results of the thematic analysis of the data, we found that 3 stages of implementing Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum. They were program development, implementation of learning, and evaluation. The first stage was program development. There were 6 points in program development. 6 points in this stage. The teachers adapt the teaching plan from Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum to the school needs. The teachers follow and adjust the scheme of work, English as a guideline in the English instruction. The teachers adopt Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum materials for English instruction. The teachers create a unit plan for the English instruction. The teachers use a variety of material resources for the English instruction, and the teachers prepare students to follow Cambridge lower secondary English checkpoint. The second stage was implementation of learning. There were 6 points in the second stage. There were Cambridge lower secondary English places more focused on students' writing skills. The teachers engage students during the learning process by having them reflect on their daily lives in relation to the English instruction. The teachers reflect themselves on the teacher's attribute such as confidence in teaching the Cambridge lower secondary English curriculum. The materials provide an opportunity for students to the students' attributes such as confidence and reflective by using Cambridge Lower Secondary English curriculum. The students and the teachers use English as immediate instruction at school, and the Cambridge Lower Secondary English materials are suitable for the students. The last stage was evaluation. Based on the teachers' perceptions, there were 4 points. The teachers follow all of the assessment tool from Cambridge. The level of Cambridge question is higher thinking order than Indonesian for English assessment. The results of students' performance in Cambridge Lower Secondary English checkpoint in accordance with the Cambridge aim, and the form of Cambridge Lower Secondary English checkpoint are essay, tick a box, and writing. Thank you.